Thanks for coming, everyone. We're going to get started. I might just do a sound check at the back. Is this loud enough? Can you guys hear me? Cool. All right. Mindful of time, because I only have 35 minutes, and I'm a bit of a chatter. So we'll get into it. So, 12 years ago, Merry People was a tiny business, only one. Danny Pierce, the founder, selling gumboots out of the back of her Volkswagen. This year, Merry People will sell more gumboots outside of Australia than within the country. And today, I'm going to be sharing some digital initiatives behind that growth, hopefully with some practical takeaways. First of all, keen to know, who do we have in here? What's the vibe? Hands up if you are direct-to-consumer selling on Shopify. Hands up, all the way up in the air. Cool. And keep your hands up if you're selling overseas. Nice, oh my God. And keep your hands up, put your hands up if you're selling more overseas than you are in Australia. Oh my God, I'm so impressed. Maybe you guys should be up here. I hope I have some value to add. Firstly, who am I? My name is Pete Chappell. Sounds a lot like Peach Apple. That's one way you can remember my name. Through the lens of e-commerce, I started straight out of uni for a company called Mercedes-Benz. I worked in their marketing department. And when I started, they were rolling out a new retail model. It's called Retail of the Future, all about selling cars online. Highly controversial, but also really successful. Now you can buy a $500,000 car online if you want to. After 3 years, I traded in the company car there for a pair of gumboots. I moved over. Some of the Mercedes colleagues thought I was working at a gumboot factory. It was relatively unknown in 2022. The 6th employee, and now in 2026 there are 40 employees across the world, about 35 in Melbourne. We've got one in Sydney, Shanky, who's up the front, creative strategist. We also have a UK lead, a US lead, and a US marketing manager. We also now have a retail store. We opened up a store in Manchester Lane in the Melbourne CBD about 3 months ago. So over that journey, I've been so lucky because I started when it was such a small business, it's grown so much, to be across 6 key touch points. Not as involved in all of them as I used to be, but the middle 4 are now my areas of focus, and this is what the presentation is really focused around. Who is Merry People? Put your hands up if you know who Merry People is. Oh my God. Cool. All right, so for those who don't know, I saw there are a few men in the room, not many. Presume you may not have as much of an understanding as some others in the room, as not the target market. It is really an incredible story. Danny, the founder, grew up on a farm in Gippsland, wearing gumboots as a child, and moved to the city when she went to high school and became a banker in her career. And one morning, she was traveling to work, and she thought, why isn't there a pair of gumboots like the ones that I wore on the farm that are stylish enough to wear in a corporate office? She couldn't find any, so she just decided to go and make some for herself. And that best-selling product was first produced about 10 years ago, and really is the first of its kind. It's a fully waterproof, warm, neoprene line insulated boot, which many people think is very stylish, and I'll leave that up to you to be the judge. But I'm a big fan. Since then, the business has expanded beyond just boots. We're now selling sandals and also clogs. So this is the journey in visuals. Merry People is selling strictly at markets for about the first 4 years, and this is a really pivotal moment in the brand journey And I think it's actually no surprise that Merry People has been so successful despite spending so long just at local markets. And there are a few founders that have been super successful. I'm thinking about Simon Beard from Culture Kings and also the Cotton On story. They both started at local markets as well. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Danny has such a strong understanding of who the customer is, what the pain points are, and it really set the business up for success when we were wanting to go online. So Danny got into a Shopify, got into an accelerator and got onto Shopify, and then very quickly launched into the US. And the motivation behind that was it's a very seasonal business. A lot of the sales in Australia come when it's cold and when it's wet, and it's really imperative from a cash flow perspective as a bootstrap brand that those sales are seasonally adjusted, or we're getting sales in both the Northern Hemisphere and also the Southern Hemisphere. 2 years later, launched in the UK, and now, as I mentioned, 50% of sales are coming from export markets. And this is just a proxy for growth here. So that bottom left-hand corner of the graph is when I started. So yeah, relatively unknown from a Google Trends perspective and in broader society as well. And it's the brand awareness has grown in an almost linear sense. The improvement's been almost linear. And that second chart notes that Merry People boots have almost expanded beyond the category. So yeah, the boot was very much marketed as a gumboot to begin with, but I'd say in the eyes of the customer, it's now not just a gumboot. When I was thinking about what to present today, I was really lost. There is so much to global growth, and I wanted this to be as impactful as possible. So I figured, what are some areas that I can talk to that I would have loved to have known more about 4 years ago when I started, or throughout the journey, where I can really add value, but also some of these initiatives that you might not have heard from anyone else here or in the broader e-com scene. I will say I am aiming to get to have time for questions, so do think about them, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end. Customer insight. There is only one boss, and that's the customer. This is Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, arguably the world's most successful retail business ever. Customer insight's been imperative to the business's success. As I mentioned in the local markets analogy before, it was very much at the heart of Merry People. It's at the roots of Merry People, being so close to the customer. And when we did get on Shopify, it ended up being the very first hire that Merry People made was in customer service. So it's something that Danny's always really prioritized. And throughout the journey, as we became more of a digital business, we integrated more layers of indirect and direct feedback. Admittedly, if you see the local markets finished up around 2023. For a long time, we were doing the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. We had some touch points, even if we weren't doing local markets every week. There were some local markets on the schedule, maybe 1 or 2 a year, where we were still getting that interaction. And admittedly, that's been missing over the last couple of years. We've lost that human element, and we've brought that back over the last 6 months, and it's been really helpful. So when we're thinking about customer insight through the lens of a global business, one thing that's been really interesting is how different the customer is across our regions. These are the responses to a post-purchase survey. Exact same question. We have the exact same products, very similar assets across all of our website, one social media account, but the answers are so different. Admittedly, seasonality does play into this a little bit, but it's prevalent across all of our questions that we ask post-purchase. They're completely different. data is really good. We've got all of this insight across all of these layers, but it means nothing unless we can actually use it and take an action off the back of it. So we have really strong processes in-house with our customer service, feeding back to the relevant teams, hey, I'm picking up on this trend. But as a data team and as a digital team, we use customer data and customer insight for a few key use cases. One of them is performance marketing and creative strategy. So that post-purchase survey question that I just asked before, that has a huge impact on how we prioritize our creative. So on the left here, we have the answers to the question, the top 4 responses. On the right-hand side, we have the tagged ads. So all of our ads are tagged with the use case. And you can see here that weekend sports was noted by 19% of people as a use case for the boots post-purchase. But it's not even in the top 7 from a creative volume perspective. So Shanky, as a creative strategist, is looking at this on a Monday morning and saying, let's roll out some ads featuring some sporting parents doing some sideline styling. It's really imperative that we tick that box. Insight's also the basis for our CRO decisions, conversion rate optimization. It helps to inform what to test and when. We've got a roadmap of about 40 potential changes. We can only test one big test at a time for statistical significance. So, we were in a situation a couple of weeks ago where we were struck with a conundrum. So we essentially rank all of our roadmap items by effort and impact. And there were about 5 topics there that were really high impact and really low effort. So how do we prioritize those top 5? And we asked the customer. We set up a call with 3 recent purchases, and one of the key insights was they were having the same issues with our sizing tool. So on the left-hand side, that is our original sizing tool. It's a third-party tool called Volumental, and they provide not only a standard size chart, but also a size scanner, which is really interactive. It's a really fun tool, and a few of our customers really love it. They swear by it and they note it post-purchase. In saying that, there are also a few customers that have noted that they struggled with it. The 3 customers that we interviewed said that they had issues with it. Obviously, post-purchase, 19% of people were saying they had an issue with sizing. So we got together with customer service. We asked them, what are the key pain points you're seeing from all your interactions? And what are the notes or the insights from the customer research that we had with the recent customers? And we built out a solution that was directly addressing all of those objections. Does anyone want to have a guess what the impact was in the metrics add to cart? Does anyone want to have a guess what the uplift was, statistically significant? You can just wait, I'll tell you in the next slide, or you can have a guess. Up to you. 19, not quite that good, yeah. But almost, it was 10%. And just quickly, that, I don't have a laser thing, but those images, AI generated. ChatGPT, that was me on a Friday afternoon. 10% improvement at 99% significance. And, we're not paying Meta for that. That's all incremental. Getting back to the global lens, not guaranteed to win across markets. We had one test in the UK that delivered a 10% increase in revenue per user, which is ridiculous. Like an extra 10% revenue for every user that gets on the website. That test, exactly the same. We rolled it out to the US. No dice. Didn't reach significance. No benefit. Other ways we use customer insight at Merry People, language is really important. We sell the same product across all those markets, but it has a different name. Gift card, gift voucher, these sorts of things. The way that our customers describe the boots is also really different. It's surprising. The US love to say super cute. They also love really confident language, whereas in Australia, we're a little bit more humble. Use cases are really different for time of year, and the feature hierarchy is also different across markets. And customers have also impacted our retail strategy. So in Australia, we partner with a lot of boutiques. In the US, we're partnering with more marketplaces. And in the UK, we've signed a big partnership with Oliver Bonus, for those who know the UK market. It's quite a large retailer there. So takeaways, find the gaps and address them. Something that we've been doing a lot lately is pulling out all the data and then having Claude analyze it, obviously de-identify it, I should say, and layering your feedback and make it accessible. Try and ensure that everyone in the business has access to the relevant insight. Performance metrics. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Any idea why I've put Justin Timberlake there? No? I'm bringing BI back. Hasn't been talked about for a long time. I haven't heard anyone at this conference talk about BI. It's been so pivotal to our growth as a lean business. Flashback to 2022, when I started, the GM of the business was spending about 3 hours a day on just understanding how the business was performing and how it could improve. Digesting all the data, understanding, what are the levers to improving the business from a commercial perspective. As a data analyst, this made me quite upset. Jumped in there, set up a BI program. We now integrate a range of source systems into a data warehouse, and that data flows into Looker, which is a BI tool. So think of Power BI, if you're familiar with that. That's the equivalent Microsoft solution. And then all of those relevant insights are shared with the relevant stakeholders at Merry People. Does that make sense to people, or have I just spoken absolute garbage? BI means business intelligence. It's like a data insights tool. So it gives you dynamic insight. You don't need to pull all this data on a static basis. You pull it in all dynamically, and it can give you an updated view of what your metrics are. I hope that does make sense. If it doesn't, that's also fine. I'm going to try and break it down for you in a bit of a different way. If I was to approach this now, particularly as a smaller business or a growing business, I would integrate all of my source system data with a connector. That's what they're called. It essentially pulls in data from the source system APIs. I'm thinking tools like Supermetric or Mixed Analytics. Really scary terms here. It's actually quite straightforward. You can use Claude or ChatGPT to help you through it, but essentially serves the same purpose as that BI program that I just mentioned before, except it's 1/10 of the cost and it's slightly less flexible and scalable. It's also worth understanding, what are you pushing towards? What are your metrics? Speak to your finance team or your founder. What are we working towards as a team? What's the goal here? So for Merry People, from a commercial perspective, our goals are total sales and also marketing efficiency ratio, which is essentially how many dollars of revenue are we getting for every dollar of marketing spend? They're our North Stars. And it's imperative that all of the team members understand on a daily basis, except for weekends, how are we tracking to those metrics? So this is just an example of a dashboard that's sent every single day. It shows us how we're tracking, what our total sales are, how we're tracking to that plan, and are we expecting to meet target essentially for those two metrics? And then we also show what are the underlying drivers. So I guess for Merry People, we don't go on sale, we don't discount. So our short-term drivers really are like talking to product or advertising in a different way. We're also really impacted by weather as a seasonal business. So when it rains more, sales go up. That's pretty much how it works. And Meta isn't as fast as we are at identifying like where demand is. So we need to manually push the spend to certain regions sometimes. So yeah, just an example here, we track, I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but the first chart here breaks down the product ROAS for all of our products, or product MER for all of our products. So how are these products performing on Meta from a return on ad spend perspective? And the second line there, Bobby Kids, it's a 15 ROAS. We're getting $15 of revenue for every dollar of marketing spend. The insight there is we're not spending enough on Bobby Kids. What we can't see here is the inventory, because I've blurred it out, sorry, but provided we do have a lot of stock, we should be pushing that. And then, yeah, allocation of spend by region, as I mentioned. If it's raining a lot, we should be pushing spend to that region. I think it's New South Wales, and I think that was last week. Cool, so align on metrics, ensure everyone's on the same page, and automate as soon as possible. Otherwise, that's just sunk costs. Performance creative. Time check. 4:06. Okay, I'm going over. I'm going to try and speed this up. This is an analogy that Meta talks about all the time. So the old paradigm is that you have a shop on High Street. Every user or every person that walks past, they're seeing the same shop. Now with Andromeda and over the last couple of years, every person that walks past, they're seeing a different shop. It's the same physical building, but you're seeing a different shop, and it's presented in a way that better resonates with the person that walks past, if that makes sense. So creative is the new targeting. We can build out, or we're incentivized to build out as much volume and diversity so we can resonate with as many passers-bys or many users as humanly possible. So when I started in 2022, volume, diversity wasn't as much of a priority. Some weeks we would only be creating 1 or 2 ads, sometimes 0. Last week, 89 new ads. Okay, that's a lot. And they're all diverse, all different, talking to a different pain point or a different mix of pain points than customers or audiences, objections. And we do have a bigger team now. So that's a caveat there. But the step change, still with a really lean team, came with our content creator program. I will also just quickly sidebar, 2026, AI is really helpful on this front from a creative volume and diversity perspective. Go chat to Chappell, they're just around the corner, not sponsored, but they're doing some great work. So yeah, this is a nice model, I think, to just highlight how to manage this creative diversity and volume at scale, and where our levers are. So studio shoots, really traditional, high quality content, super expensive, and you can't use a lot of it because Andromeda is going to look at the same shots and say, or similar shots and say, this is the same type of ad. Whereas content creators can be all over the world, different lighting, different camera, different audience, different look, different vibe. They're going to perform a whole lot better, generally speaking. In the early days, we did a lot of like Airbnb on the weekend, invite your friends, bring a camera. That worked really well. We haven't actually done that, but I was recently speaking to Pear, the sock brand. I'm not sure if you're aware, they're really successful. They're doing this, and it's working really well for them. So that's another interesting way to drive creative volume and scale in a really diverse way for your business. So this is what our content creator program process looked like when we set it up a couple of years ago. Since then, we've partnered with 600 creators. So yeah, really bare bones. Really just a Google sheet was driving this. Understanding our target audience with the post-purchase survey that I referenced before, finding creators, just inbound DM. Get your mate who's really out there and not afraid to be rejected. My friend Mitch helped me out with this. I got him in a couple of hours a week, and he would fire off the DMs like nobody's business. And found so many. We built a brief, and we outreached with an incentive. So yeah, money is a great one, and we've seen incredible success. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is really valuable for a global business with team in outside of that area. Yes, question. I'll take it. So this, at the moment, this is a fully fledged so the question was, how many creators do we have at any one time? This is a fully fledged program now, and we have one team member running it, and she'll work in a weekly cadence. Presume she's reaching out to 50 creators a week, and some of them might not get back, and yeah, it depends, but I would hope that we're getting 10 creators a week, something along those lines, but don't quote me on those numbers. So yeah, performance creative, find your audience, and establish how you as a business can best drive both creative volume and diversity across borders in a fairly cheap way. AI. So I have to talk about this really quickly, but not through the traditional lens. I'm not really going to talk about how we're using it, but I'm putting my cybersecurity hat on for just a second here. We surveyed our business on how they're using AI, and I think this is really important for those who have a team where you might not speak to them every day. Most of our team was using AI already, which is positive. The issue with that is we didn't know how they were using it, and there are big shadow IT issues potentially with that sort of setup. So we don't know if they're plugging in, customer data. They weren't, but as a general rule, it's really important to understand how the team is using AI, how they want to use AI, what their stance is on AI. So yeah, this is our company approach. We sent out the survey. We aligned on an approach. We set a standard. This is what we wouldn't share with AI. This is how we would use it. These are some initiatives. And then as a group, we have an expectation that once you're using AI, you should be sharing how you're using it. We should be collaborating. We should be learning together. So this is just a Slack channel that we set up. Goes through, at a very high level, talking about how people are using it, what they're doing, where they're seeing benefit, and learning together. Cool. Partners, very quickly. SaaS providers. Who do we have in the house? Agencies. I see you, Ed, at the back. Woo woo. This one's for you. This is actually for brands as well. Really important for brands. I was told last night that I'm a savage to partner with. Supposedly, it's quite difficult. I've got a reputation for being quite difficult to sell to, but in a good way, supposedly, because I really test the benefit of the SaaS provider or the agency. So this is our process. We first ask, is there a real problem that we're trying to solve here, or is this just a flashy tool? Does it drive revenue, reduce cost, or both? And can we estimate the incremental impact? This is probably the most important one. Does the value outweigh fees, onboarding, and team time? So a lot of people will say, this is an amazing tool. I love it so much. You should definitely try it. But without understanding or being able to test the impact, is it worthwhile? I'd argue probably not. You're also not only wasting your own time, but you're also wasting the time of the agency or the SaaS provider when inevitably it gets to budgeting time and you don't have strong conviction as to why you're using it because you can't test or you can't prove the incremental impact. Is the implementation complexity justified, and are the partner values aligned? If we often will meet with a vendor or an agency, and their product is really complicated, but we're interested in it, and we just want to cut through the process. If we see on LinkedIn that they're partnered with one of our friends or someone we know in our network, we'll often reach out to them, talk about their process. Have you tested it? Is there incremental value to cut down that that tender process? And then now I have the 4 Ps of marketing here to determine who you partner with. That's a joke for the marketers in the room. Partner, pilot, postpone, or pass. That's cool. And these are our long-standing partners. Shout out, again, not sponsored. Harvey are our web dev and design team. High Voltage are our SEO agency. Order editing, they allow you to edit orders within a prescribed window post-purchase. They're awesome. And we use Shoplift for our A/B testing. So these are the takeaways. I think I've gone to time pretty much. Find the gaps. Share what you find. Align on the numbers. Automate as much as you can. Share volume and diversity together. Set the rules. Teach each other. Partner, pilot, postpone, or pass. Questions? I think maybe 5 minutes. Is that right? Maybe just, call out. If you have a question, put your hand up, and we can do it the old-fashioned way. No? Yes. Yep. Yep. So the question was, so we use the customer insight for our paid media. How do we determine which channels we're using that insight for to build out that creative? So our key channels are, key channel is Meta, and we also we do experiment with TikTok a little bit, and we're on Google. But for the purpose of that post-purchase insight, the majority of that creative strategy is going into our Meta and our TikTok creative. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Yep. So the question was, what data am I pulling out from Gorgeous? So things like first response time, how many tickets being closed by customer service team member, the time to respond, that kind of thing. Yep. Open tickets. Anyone else? Cool, we can leave it there. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions afterwards. I hope this has been helpful.